Do you ever feel supremely sick of your own shit? Did you know that it's totally possible to completely reinvent yourself, to shift your identity? If you could wake up tomorrow in a fresh start, in a new place where nobody knew who you were, who would you be? So the real question here is, who are you truly underneath all the baggage and expectations? In this video, I'm going to walk you through practical techniques for identity shifting in order to reinvent yourself, tap into your authenticity, and create positive change in your life. Make sure you watch until the end because I'm also going to cover some of the common issues that can arise with identity shifting and how to cope with them. I also have a special resource down in the video description. It's something that I've created to kind of help you along the way in your identity shifting journey. I'm Mandy M. I'm a spiritual self-help author and master shapeshifter. And today we're gonna go on a deep dive into identity shifting, unfucking your self-concept, and going about the messy business of reinventing yourself so that you can have a happier, more fulfilling life. First of all, you might be thinking, what the fuck is she going on about? What is identity shifting? And although it might sound kind of like mysterious and intriguing and like one of those quantum level Healy things, it's essentially just the practice of hacking into your current self-concept in order to step into your next level of growth, authenticity, and empowerment. Because y'all, the truth hurts, and the truth is that so many of us go through life with a self-concept that's not super helpful. It's not very empowering for us. We tell ourselves we are incapable, insecure, too little, too much. And the reality is a lot of those beliefs are based on outdated assumptions or programmed attitudes that we've picked up along the way from the people around us or our circumstances or the things that we have encountered in life. For me personally, this often led to a feeling of being totally sick of myself with a super strong longing and desire to completely reinvent myself in some way. Now, the good news is that we are constantly in a state of flux and evolution, and reinvention is always on the table. We just need to take a really close look at our current self-concept and make conscious choices in order to adopt like new beliefs, behaviors, perspectives to transform our lives. There is a quote by Peter Sage that once you fully understand will absolutely change your fucking life. That is that people will only ever rise above their opinions of themselves. Your identity and how you conceptualize yourself and your place in the larger world around you is the foundation upon which your life, your habits, your growth, your potential, all that shit is built. So obviously we want this to be as solid and as intentional as possible. So who are you really? Not who your parents told you you were, not who your teachers or your partners have said that you are. Who are you? Beyond doubt, fears, insecurities, if we want to get crystal fucking clear with our identity shift, we need to get a picture of where we're starting and where we are heading in order to craft this vision of this free, more authentic version of ourselves. Now, this is actually a really important thing to note. Although reinventing yourself can sound like a kid playing dress up or a way of faking being someone else, the truth is that you already are living in a carefully patterned identity that you've picked up along the way and that you're unconsciously allowing to limit you. So the more that you approach this question of who you truly are with intention, the more you're actually going to be able to connect to your true authenticity beyond all the bullshit. So the first technique that's really helpful for identity shifting is journaling. This is where we can get those ideas of where we're starting and where we're going crystal fucking clear out of our minds and onto paper. When we have ideas floating around in our brains, far easier for us to explore these ideas when we get them out on paper, which is why I also have a workbook in the description here that is going to give you prompts to go along with this video. Because my kink is seeing people thrive, and there is nothing that helps you thrive more than a good old-fashioned identity shift. So when you begin to get these ideas out of your head and flesh them out on paper, this is going to help provide details that will create a roadmap for kind of calling in those real life actions that are in alignment with your new identity to help anchor it in. So in our journaling or in that workbook, you can write out your current self-concept and limitations and begin exploring an idea of who you feel you truly are. So the person that you would be if you could fearlessly start over, the stable, intentional emotional foundation that you're trying to build. Our next tool is a doozy, and it is backed by neuroscience, and that is visualization. Neuroscience tells us that visualization is an exceptional way to connect with new concepts and essentially practice mental expansion. When it comes to reaching our goals, it allows us to rewire ourselves in alignment with the things that we actually want. There is so much research out there that the idea or concept that visualization is this like fluffy pseudoscientific thing has been completely blown out of the water. So visualization is actually used quite a lot in neuroscience, from everything from sports performance to improving cognition after brain injury. So this is powerful shit. Do not be sleeping on this. And if you want to get the full benefit of your visualizations, make sure to practice them in your head, your crystal clear vision, before you go to bed at night or when you first wake up in the morning when your brain is in that theta state. Now, the key to visualization in my experience is to create a completely comprehensive mental image complete with sensory and emotional details. So this is going to help you anchor it in, you guys. I recommend doing visualizations of completely boring, mundane scenes when this new identity is already your life. So perhaps you're getting ready in the morning. Maybe you're in the grocery store. Maybe you're about to go meet up with some friends. You're going to intuitively know what to include, but how does this shifted version of you feel? What are the sights, the smells, the whatever that are present? What kind of daily habits or routines does this version of yourself have? Because that is why we identity shift. All of those behaviors, all those patterns, all those routines are going to be different depending on the new identity you've shifted to. Now, no conversation of shifting your reality would be complete if we didn't talk about mental reprogramming. Mental reprogramming allows us to use repetition and being very mindful on what we are speaking onto ourselves. Because after all, the identities that we are currently trapped in have been created through repetition, through programming. And so that's how we're going to try and break our way out of it. So probably the most commonly talked about mental reprogramming tool that we have is affirmations. But I feel like it's really important to have a little side note here. The affirmations are one of those things that can be really hard to connect to. So I'm gonna give you a few tips. First, your affirmations are not going to work if they feel so foreign and so out there to you that your subconscious kind of like rolls its eyes and quits before it starts. So one of my favorite starter affirmations is I am always open to learning new and exciting ways to view myself. This includes the element of surprise or opening up to the fact that you might gradually pick up steam when it comes to affirming new things. Now, there's some other ways to craft in between affirmations that we can connect to until our self-concept begins to blossom open. So for example, instead of saying something like, I unconditionally love and accept myself, you could say something like, I am committed to noticing all the neglected, sparkly bits of myself that are special and unique. If you are not great with crafting affirmations, there's a lot of videos and audio resources that are available both on Spotify and YouTube, so you can go check those out. Now, here's a little super hack for this reprogramming step. So one thing that I really love to do is to record an audio using the voice notes on my phone. Using the perspective of the new identity, I like to record a gratitude statement in the present tense. So for example, I'm so grateful to feel free to be myself no matter how others perceive me. I'm so grateful to be living in the fullest expansion of myself, whatever you want to say. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to get to know myself in any given moment and grow and shift and evolve. Then I listen to this on headphones in the morning, and it's kind of like getting a little time travel smooch from your future self. It works like a hot damn for manifesting as well. Just saying. Now, the reason why these things work is that every single self-concept, whether it be your desired one or your automatic one, has a specific frequency. And by that, I mean it has an energetic signature. It has feelings, emotions associated with that. So the identity you're trying to shift to also has a energetic signature or frequency that you can also tap into. So think of the example of a performer or an athlete that is putting on their stage persona or putting on their game face. So all of the steps that we've discussed so far really allow us to tap into that particular energetic tone that we're trying to set, whether we're seeing it in our mind's eye, whether we're speaking it, whether we're writing it out, getting crystal clear on it, or whether we're giving ourselves an auditory stimulant. Now, if you are a witchy or spiritual person, there's also a variety of like rituals and invocations that you can do to add a little bit of magic to this process. process. So I do have a YouTube video on invoking archetypes, which is really great for that. Now, this next one is going to sting a little, but probably the most important technique for identity shifting is actually practicing doing hard things. All of these techniques so far were to get us energetically and mentally primed to conceptualize ourselves differently, to change our self-concept. However, we actually have to take this out into the real world where we are going to be tested and then some. Please remember that you are not always required to get it right. If you have the opportunity to act as your shifted identity and you don't take it, it's totally fine. It can be really hard to unfuck your programming all at once. So just do not allow yourself to get caught up in that I'm failing at this mindset, because that's exactly the kind of shit we're trying to turn around here. Give yourself grace, try again. Now, when practicing, it's really important to note that this will be paradoxically a lot easier to do with strangers than people who actually know you. The reality is that we put each other in boxes without meaning to, and once you kind of begin to step into your authenticity and step out of the box that other people have put you in, it can be really jarring for them. This is okay. It is completely not ill intention that people do this. It's just a little bit of subconscious fuckery, which does bring us to the next point, which is some of the potential issues you might face when shifting your identity. First, I'm going to tell you a story. So I knew a girl who really struggled as a child with extremely low self-esteem, insecurity, there was self-harm, there was mental illness, addiction, etc. And this all came from a combination of really fucking negative events, circumstances, programming she picked up all around her growing up that really became her internal narrative. It became a part of her core identity that she was just fundamentally broken. I know this girl very personally because if you haven't guessed yet, it was me, and now I have decided to break free of that identity. I have been able to reinvent myself multiple times. I've written 4 books that have helped other people, and this is why I'm so passionate about this topic, because when you really lean into the fact that it is within your control and it's part of your birthright as an evolving human being to be your most unleashed authentic self, everything will change for you. And this is why I'm so fucking passionate about this stuff. Now, on to the dangers of identity shifting. I want to say that the biggest danger that you can encounter is going to come from not shifting. There are people who go their whole lives boxed in, playing small, and never unleashing their full authenticity and getting to experience the raw and unhinged joy that can come along with that. So although I'm going to speak to some issues and some fears and some resistance that you might be having, do not let fear stop you. Now, the first issue that you're going to encounter is the fear of how others may react or the fear of how others may perceive you. So again, human beings put each other into these boxes, and it can be really kind of strange for people to see you behaving or acting or living your identity out in a way that is unfamiliar to them. A lot of times what stops us from really stepping into our boldness is worrying about the energy of people around us, having them say like, who do you think you are? Or, oh, so now you think you're this? Let them. Who you are is the main character of your story, and who you decide to be is your business. Period. Every single trigger is an invitation, and when other people see authenticity in others, it becomes triggering for them for 2 reasons. A, they want to control you, or B, they don't feel safe themselves to be their authentic self. This is not your business, not your problem. But I'm not gonna blow smoke up your ass that people aren't gonna give you weird energy, because a lot of people are. And part of the joy of identity shifting is learning to hold that discomfort energetically while allowing it to strengthen your resolve and your foundation. The next issue is that it might feel like a roller coaster. So think of a little baby colt tottering around on its adorable little stick legs. You might feel that way. You might be elated, thrilled, overjoyed one moment and completely embarrassed the next. We are all human and figuring it out as we go, so do not let the fear of embarrassment or discomfort lock you into more years of frustration and inaction. We only have this one life, so wouldn't you rather spend it delusional, embarrassed, and full of zest than sitting around being worried about what some bare minimum bitch is gonna think? So if you are ready to shift, if you are ready to let your authenticity free, make sure to download that workbook below. Let me know how it goes for you and write in the comments, what identity are you calling in? Claim it. And remember that identity shifting is truly about letting your authentic self free. It is intentional, completely under your control, and can form the foundation of the choices you make, the risks you take, the habits you form, etc. I love you. Happy shifting.